Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Hey guys, and welcome to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Cynthia, and happy Tuesday, everyone. I cannot believe we are in June already. What? June 2nd. That is insane. I feel like this year has been the longest and slowest of them all, if you know what I'm saying. To be honest, I'm not even really sure how to start off this episode, just due to all of the crazy things that are happening in the outside world, with the protests and, and all of that stuff. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't really know what mood I'm in. I feel like my heart's very heavy, and I feel like I need to express this to you guys because this is like almost a form of therapy for me. I'm able to talk it out and just kind of get all of my ideas and thoughts out. And I'm going to try and say them as best as I can in words. So this is actually very like therapeutic for me to be just like talking to you guys about kind of what's going on in my head. And I just want to first and foremost say that I hope that if you are protesting and out there fighting for change, please be safe, fight for it safely, and just take care of one another, look out for one another. I know times are tough right now, and all of this is happening in the midst of a global health pandemic. And I think that's like another layer of craziness that I'm like thinking about as well, is that people are out there risking their lives for a cause in the midst of a global health pandemic. And I just want to say thank you to all of the individuals who are out there protesting for change and making our voices heard for those who are unable to protest. And yeah, like I said, I just hope that you guys are all just taking care of each other mentally, spiritually. I was literally just talking to my bosses before I started recording this episode, how I'm kind of like stuck between a wall here. I feel like I'm constantly checking my phone, specifically Twitter. I'm trying to do my best to stay informed on what's going on in the world. But at the same time, it's been hard for me to kind of like retract from my phone and take a break from my phone. I'll start watching like a Netflix show, and like 10, 20 minutes, and I find myself like, slowly grabbing my phone and like checking up on the updates, and like that's not healthy. It's like I need to like set a time for myself where I'm like disconnected from everything, and that's really important. Your mental health is very important during these times. So just make sure that you're stepping away from social media, stepping away from the constantly reading the news, watching the news. Just that could be very detrimental to our health. So just make sure that you guys are allowing yourself time to breathe, engage in activities that you like to do. I have been listening to many sound baths. For those of new listeners who are out there listening to me right now, I love listening to sound baths. They're very therapeutic. It's very similar to like music therapy. These like frequencies play and they're supposed to be very calming for your nervous system and just like ease your mind, ease your body. And especially for those with anxiety, such as myself, sound baths are an amazing alternative to calm you down if you are feeling extremely anxious. And I have also been working out. I feel like a lot of us know by now that exercise is literally good for the heart and body and soul and everything. When we work out, you know, we release endorphins that, you know, literally put us in a better mood. So I have been doing my workouts to also kind of, you know, take a step back from what's going on in our world right now. And again, I just want to say, I hope you guys are all staying safe and just, you know, spread love and positivity, speak up for what you think is right, and just, I'm all for it, all right? So I hope that you guys are hanging in there. I know there's like so much going on right now, and like I said, I wasn't even sure how I wanted to start off this episode, just because I do feel like I'm in a weird place, and you know, I always got to keep it raw and authentic for you guys when I come on here and speak. So I'm not going to come on here automatically and like be super bubbly and cheery. I want to like genuinely let you guys know how I'm feeling and kind of bring you guys along what I'm kind of thinking about. And again, just talk it out through this podcast. So now that I'm done going on that tangent, obviously we're not here to discuss about our current, you know, social climate. We are here to talk about all things health and wellness. And if you are able to tell by today's title, warm up, cool down. So I'm going to basically be talking to you guys how the warm-up phase and the cool-down phase of your workout routine is. Why is it so imperative? Why is it so important that we don't skip over this step? And this doesn't include like the actual exercise or workouts that you're doing. The warm-up is something that you do in the beginning prior to you actually, you know, beginning to lift, or before you begin like running or whatever the case it is. And the cool down is like at the very end of the workout to kind of bring back your muscles and relax them. And I'll get more into all of that. But I thought it would be good to talk about the warm-up and cool-down phases, just because I think that we tend to overlook these parts of exercise. I think that the majority of us, including myself, I used to be like this. The majority of us like would not properly warm up our joints and muscles, and we wouldn't cool down. And they're so important for many things, such as like injury prevention and many other things I'll get into later in this episode. And like I said, I used to be guilty of this. Like I used to go to the gym and just like literally 2 seconds, like quick stretch. And my stretches were not helpful at all, by the way, which again, I'll get into more detail in the later segment. But I would just go in straight into my weightlifting and just like get right to it. And although luckily I haven't really experienced any major fracture or injury or any of that sort, I've now come to realize that that's not good for my body, that in the future, me constantly skipping over the warm-up phase and the cool-down phase could lead to a lot of potential health risk. And no. I don't want none of that. I don't want to grow up in pain, okay? I want to literally, my goal in life when it comes to my fitness is to move freely and pain-free in my body. I literally am blessed, and I wake up with immense gratitude that I live in a stable body that allows me to move freely, pain-free. You know, I'm able to get up in the morning without any complications. I can go to the bathroom without any complications. I can get in a car and drive. I can go up and down the stairs. And like, those are little things that I feel like many of us take for granted. I used to take that for granted. And after, you know, just like really learning about health and fitness and just like really practicing the act of gratitude in the morning, I realized like, wow, like these are things that other individuals don't have that luxury to, or they don't have that luxury. There's individuals who are, need assistance to walk through a wheelchair or a cane, or they can't live in a 2-bedroom house because they can't go up and down the stairs, or just many things. So I'm just very grateful to be living in a body that I'm able to move freely, pain-free, and that's why I think that's like the most important aspect of the warm-up phase and the cool-down phase, is so that you can continue to move freely and pain-free in your body. So you guys, I'm going to cut into a very brief break right now. When we come back, we're going to get into more of the warm-up and cool-down phases of exercise.
Are you looking to learn more about the latest trends from the fitness world? Are you confused by all of the different trends that are out there? The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place for you. The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place to come for people of all skill and interest levels. Join us as we explore the latest trends in the fitness world. Does that new exercise really work? Should I try yoga? Whatever your question, chances are good you'll find an answer on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So we started to dive a little bit into, what exactly is the warm-up and cool-down phase. And again, I'm just going to reiterate what I was just saying prior to the break, that you might be eager to leap into your exercise routine and get on with the day. I used to do that, but I highly suggest and highly recommend, don't just dive in, okay? And this is speaking, again, I'm a personal trainer, so I'm speaking also from a professional standpoint here. Starting a workout with cold muscles can lead to injury. It's important to start each workout with a warm-up and end with the cool-down. And that goes for true whether you're a beginner, you're a seasoned pro athlete, and everything in between. It doesn't matter where you are in your fitness journey, a warm-up and cool-down phase is absolutely necessary. Warming up pumps nutrient-rich, oxygenated blood to your muscles as it speeds up your heart rate and breathing. A good warm-up should last anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes and work, all the major muscle groups that you'll be targeting for that day. So, for instance, say you're going to do a lower body day. I would warm up, my glutes, my quads, my hamstrings, my calves, everything, okay? Basically everything. And for best results, I say for warm up, start slowly, then pick up the pace. Many warm-up routines focus on cardio and range of motion exercises such as jumping jacks and lunges to, kind of just prepare and elongate your joints and ligaments. If you prefer, you can do a simpler warm-up by walking in place even while gently swinging your arms or even dancing to a few songs. So basically, the point of the warm-up is exactly that, to raise your body temperature, to warm up your muscles, to prepare them for the heavy lifting you're going to do or for the running you're about to do. So whether you're going to engage in strength training or you're going to engage in cardio, you still need to properly warm up your body. And I want to specifically dive into dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching is one of the many ways you can properly warm up your body. And this is actually my preferred way to warm up my body. I know I just mentioned that many warm-up routines focus on cardio, such as walking in place or a light jog. I kind of like to do dynamic stretching first. So again, I'm going to use the example of like a lower body day when it comes to dynamic stretching. So dynamic stretches are active movements where joints and muscles go through a full range of motion, and they can be used to help warm up your body before exercising. And dynamic stretches can be functional and mimic the movement of the activity or sport you're about to perform. So, for example, a swimmer may circle their arms before getting into the water. So doing like arm circles, that's a form of dynamic stretching because you are essentially mimicking the movement of the activity. And as swimmers, you are obviously using a lot of upper body and shoulder movement. So it's really imperative that you properly wake up and warm up the upper body extremity, you know, your rotator cuff, chest, everything. And dynamic stretches can also be a series of movements to get the body moving before any type of exercise. You know, some examples of dynamic stretches include trunk twists, walking lunges, or leg swings against a wall. Leg swings are actually one of my favorites to do for dynamic warm-ups. So essentially what leg swings are, you're just like standing in place. Obviously keep your abs tight. You may want to hold on to like a chair or a wall or something to give you some stability, because this definitely challenges your stability. And you just like swing your leg back and forth, full range of motion. And this like is so helpful for warming up your entire hip complex. And like I said, especially if you're going to go in for a lower body day, a squat day, you need to make sure that you properly warm up your lower body efficiently. And that's what I like to do for my lower body. I do dynamic stretches first. So I'll do some like leg swings, among other dynamic stretches. I'm not like the best when it comes to like their names, honestly. Like I've never been that person. And as a trainer, I know that's like kind of bad, but I'm not good when it comes to, names of exercises, if you get what I'm saying. Like I know a lot of exercises. Like my mind has so many exercises locked in. I have like my own exercise library in my mind, but I don't know the names of it. So the best way for me is like I just have to like visually show you. But anyway, so dynamic stretches are basically mimicking, again, I'm reiterating because I know I'm kind of going all over the place. Dynamic stretches are active movements, and they basically take your joints and muscles through a full range of motion to properly warm up before exercise. And a lot of them are functional movements in which they mimic the movement of the activity. So leg swings would also be good if you're a soccer player, because obviously you are swinging your leg forward to kick the ball. So leg swings, those are a form of dynamic functional movement. And so like for lower body days, I know I didn't even tell you guys, I like to do my dynamic stretches. I'll probably do that for about 5 minutes. And then for lower body, me specifically, I like to target a lot of glutes. I know that's like the whole craze right now in the fitness world is like growing your lower body, specifically the glutes. So with like the booty band or the mini band, these tend to go above your knee. I'll do a few exercises using the booty band as well to properly warm up my glutes. And this just kind of gets them ready to fire up so that when I do go in for my squats or hip thrusts or deadlifts, my glutes are fired up and ready to go. So to be honest, my personal warm up takes me about 15, 20 minutes. And that's like kind of long for some people, but I like to really dedicate my time to my warm up because, again, this is injury prevention. That's like the most important thing that I want to drill into you guys. This is injury prevention. Like the warm up phase, you are properly warming up your body for these heavy lifts. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen people get hurt and from not properly warming up your body. And again, this can mean also like being I know some people who like to do like 15 minutes on the Stairmaster or elliptical or like a treadmill. So really it's based upon you, what you want to do. Me personally, dynamic stretching is my favorite. And as well with booty band activation exercises to activate my glutes. And glutes are very strong. So like they're the strongest muscle in your body. So when you are going for these heavy lifts, your glutes, a lot of power is coming from your glutes. And if they're not properly warmed up, then it's going to just make your training session and your exercise that much more difficult. So I now want to kind of talk about what is dynamic stretching versus static stretching. Some of you may have heard of this. Some of you may have not. Dynamic stretches are different than static stretches. Dynamic stretches are meant to get the body moving, as I just explained. The stretches in dynamic movements aren't held for any length of time. Dynamic stretches include movement, going through a full range of motion, such as lunges with the torso twist, leg swings, etc. Static stretching, I feel like that's what the majority of the population is familiar with. This is what I was familiar with growing up. When I played basketball and cheerleading, static stretching basically is where your muscles are extended and held for a period of time. So some examples of static stretches include a tricep stretch or a butterfly stretch or even the splits. So I was a cheerleader. I would do my splits as my warm up and like hold it. And that is the difference between static stretching and dynamic. Dynamic, you are dynamically moving through a full range of motion. You are taking your muscles and your joints through a full range of motion, mimicking the movement you're about to perform. Whereas static stretching, you are holding for a period of time. So you guys, I'm going to come to a very brief break right now. When we come back, I'm going to explain when to use dynamic stretching and when to use static stretching. We'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So I just got done explaining to you guys what's the difference between dynamic stretches versus static stretches. Again, static, you are essentially holding that specific movement, whereas dynamic stretches, you are dynamically moving through a full range of motion. And so when is it appropriate to use these stretches? Dynamic stretching can be used before the start of any exercise routine. I hope you guys kind of got the idea already. I kept drilling that in. So dynamic stretches, it may help warm your body or get your muscles moving and ready to work. When I, train clients, typically I like to have them perform dynamic movements prior to us officially getting into the workout. I know kind of every trainer has their own style and twist to things, but me personally, I feel like dynamic stretches have been the most helpful for my clients, and it kind of also just teaches them and prepares them for the real thing. Some examples that may benefit from dynamic stretches include before sports and athletics. So if you've gone to like a football game or a basketball game, you've probably seen many of these athletes perform many dynamic stretches where they're like leg swings or like high knees, whatever. Those are all dynamic stretches. And dynamic stretches may be beneficial for athletes who will like be running or jumping, including basketball players, soccer players, and sprinters. It's great for weightlifting, as I said. And, dynamic stretching may help with leg extension power and improve performance compared to static stretching or no stretching. Static stretching, I'd say I'd leave that for the cool down. That's actually what I like to do for my cool down is some static stretches. And the whole point of a cool down, you guys, is to lower your body temperature. So the warm up, it's literally in the name, warm up, cool down. The warm up, you're literally trying to raise your body temperature. And the cool down, you're trying to lower your body temperature. Okay. You're trying to lower your body temperature in a cool down phase. And again, I'll get into the later segment why this is so important, the cool down phase specifically. But yes, so my professional opinion, dynamic stretching, leave that for the warm up. Cool down stretching, or the cool down, leave that for static stretching. Before cardiovascular exercise, I would also do some dynamic stretches. Whether you'll be running in boot camp or swimming, dynamic exercises can get your muscles warmed up and ready, which may also improve performance and reduce risk for injury. And who doesn't want that, right? Especially for my athletes who are listening right now. Dynamic stretches are an excellent way to warm up before exercising, and I'm now going to be sharing with you guys a sample dynamic stretching routine that involve the following moves. So if you are listening to me right now, I encourage you all to stand on up unless you're driving, don't do that. Unless you are driving, do not do this. But if you are just chilling right now, listening to me, I encourage you guys to stand up and perform these dynamic stretching, these dynamic movements along with me. I'm giving you guys a free sample. Like, this is stuff that I literally do and that has helped me in my performance in the gym and just, again, for me to be able to move freely and pain-free. So the first one are going to be hip circles. So stand on one leg, holding onto a countertop or wall for support. Gently swing your other leg in small circles out to the side and perform 20 circles, then switch legs. Work up to larger circles as you become more flexible. And then that's the first one. Then repeat onto the next side. Next, we have a lunge with a twist. So lunge forward with your right leg, keeping your knee directly over your ankle and not extending it farther than your ankle. Reach overhead with your left arm and bend your torso toward the right side. And then bring your right leg back to return to an upright standing position. And then lunge forward with your left leg and repeat that 5 times on each leg. So again, hip circles, then we have lunge with a twist. And these movements are great, like full body dynamic stretching movements. But I'm not done yet, y'all. Like I said, I have a whole sample of dynamic stretches written out for you guys. So those are just the first 2. The next one we have are arm circles. So I want you all, if you can, stand feet shoulder width apart and hold your arms out to the side at shoulder height. Circle around your arms slowly, starting with small circles, working up to larger circles, and perform 20 reps. Then reverse the direction of the circles and perform 20 more. So if you're starting off doing these arm circles going backward, after you hit 20 backward, do 20 forward. Especially for my swimmers out there, I'm going to need y'all to do this. This is going to be highly beneficial for you guys. Now I'm going to be listing some dynamic stretches that I personally think are great for runners. I know there's a lot of runners on here that listen to me, so I got y'all. Runners can benefit from dynamic stretches as a warm-up. So my recommended stretches for runners are here. First one being large arm circles. So it's pretty similar to the arm circles I just mentioned. So again, you're standing upright with your arms extended out to your side, and you start to make large circles. So this really helps target your entire rotator cuff. Perform 10 reps with your arms swinging forward, and then repeat with your arms swinging backward. Next, we have the leg pendulum or leg swings. So start to swing one leg back and forth while balancing on the other. Like I said, you can hold onto a wall if needed for some stability. Then swing forward and backward 10 times. Bring that leg down and repeat with the other leg, swinging again 10 reps. You can face the wall and then swing your legs from side to side. I know, again, this is also going to be due to like range of motion. So you may not be able to swing your leg all the way up. That is okay. The main point of this is just to kind of wake up your hip complex, those joints, especially to those leg swings or leg pendulum. They're really great for anybody who has very tight hips. So for people who are sitting majority of the day, whether that be like, I know a lot of jobs require people to sit a lot, such as like being a truck driver, bus driver, Uber. You're sitting on a desk a lot. If you are in a seated position, I would highly suggest doing those leg swings to kind of wake up your hips and warm them up so that they're not so tight. While dynamic stretching is important for warming up, it isn't necessary to perform dynamic stretches as a cool down. Again, I just want to kind of reiterate that point. Dynamic stretches bring up your core temperature, and then during a cool down, the goal is to lower your temperature. So instead, try static stretches such as like a quad stretch, cobra stretch, or hamstring stretch at the end of the workout. And the next time you exercise or play sports, I encourage you all to try adding dynamic stretches to your warm-up. You may find your body feels more energized, stretched out, and ready to power you through your workout. Just remember, always check with your doctor before starting a new exercise routine to make sure that, you know, it aligns with your body goals and that, most importantly, that it's safe for you. Not all exercise are safe. Here are some like common phrases that are like nailed on a chalkboard for personal trainers and group fitness instructors around the country, and that I hear, you know, on a regular basis, such as, you know, I don't have time to cool down, or I'll stretch later. And with the perception of time being the most important determinant for an individual to remain diligent in their exercise routine, the cool down is usually the first thing to go when time is of the essence. Although it may be easy to simply jump from the treadmill straight into the shower or from the squat rack to the car, there are 5 very important reasons to think carefully before you pull the plug on your workout. So I'm going to come to a very brief break right now. When we come back, I'll be sharing with you guys those 5 very important reasons why you should think carefully before just abruptly ending your workout and skipping the cool down. We'll be right back.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So I just shared with you guys some common phrases that us trainers constantly hear from clients talking about. I don't have time. I'll stretch later. I'll do it later. I can't right now. I'm in a hurry. Yada, yada, yada. All right. After these 5 reasons I'm going to share with you guys, I think for those who make that excuse up, you're going to change your mind real quick and you're going to make time to spend, an extra 5 minutes on your cool down. Wake up an extra 5 minutes early if you wake up early to work out to dedicate to your cool down, okay? So the first reason why you shouldn't just abruptly end your workout without a proper cool down is for blood pooling. So some of you are like, what is blood pooling? During exercise, the heart is pumping at an accelerated rate and the oxygenated blood has to be pumped from your heart and make it all the way through your lower extremities before working its way back to the heart against gravity to be reoxygenated again. When the body goes from moving quickly or performing a lot of work during your last set to abruptly just like working less and moving slowly, the squeezing action provided by the working muscles is greatly diminished. When exercise is stopped abruptly, this can cause the blood to pool in the lower extremities and slow its return back to the heart and subsequently to the brain. Another factor that adds to this dilemma is the one-way valves that are present with our vascular system. Veins, which are generally responsible for returning deoxygenated blood back to the heart and lungs, come equipped with one-way valve space throughout to prevent backflow. When the movement of blood slows down within the vascular system, there is less pressure available to move the body through these doorways, which causes the blood to become somewhat trapped between these valves. All of this can lead to lightheadedness, dizziness, and even fainting, which I've seen all before. In fact, many fitness facility accidents occur in the locker rooms, you guys, because of this blood pooling effect, especially with the elderly or those prone to cardiovascular issues. So when you feel like jumping from your last sprint straight back into your street clothes, remember to take an extra few minutes to slow your roll. Make sure your heart rate comes down slowly and allow your body to become accustomed to the now diminished level of work. It might save you a trip to the emergency room. And we all know the emergency room here in the U.S. is freaking expensive. So save your guys' self those big bucks and just properly cool down, 5 to 10 minutes after you're done working out. And again, there's a couple ways you can do this. I just mentioned already in the previous segment about static stretching. So literally just like sit down, stretch, calm your breathing down. You can, and like the stretching doesn't need to take long. It's just like if you worked on your lower body, stretch your quads for 30 seconds. Then stretch your hamstrings for 30 seconds. Stretch your glutes for 30 seconds. Stretch your calves for 30 seconds. Stretch your back for 30 seconds. And like, it doesn't need to be super extensive, but I would say minimum of 5 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes would be ideal. Other ways you can cool down is also by using a massage gun or like a hypervolt or foam rolling. And foam rolling is actually really good for warm up or cool down. You could use it for either. And I'll actually get more into foam rolling in the next segment. So stay tuned for that. The second reason why you shouldn't skip out on your cool down phase of your workout routine is due to delayed onset muscle soreness, aka DOMS. DOMS are basically just muscle soreness, and these occur 24 to 48 hours after exercise due to micro tears in the muscle fibers. This is a very normal part of exercise, and some soreness is to be expected, especially with resistance training or a new form of exercise. However, considerable amounts of DOMS is not comfortable and can be rather debilitating when trying to stay on a consistent exercise schedule, right? Like the whole point, especially for like my ladies out there who are trying to grow their glutes, training frequency is one of the many factors to growing your muscle. And if you're constantly sore, that gets in the way of you trying to stay on a consistent exercise schedule, which gets in the way of you, reaching your ultimate fitness goal. So that's why too much of DOMs aren't good. DOMs that hang around for more than 2 to 3 days may also be a sign of overtraining or even illness, or it could be a precursor to injury. So cooling down after your workout is a great way to help minimize the DOMs effect. A recent study conducted at a California State University looked at the effect of recovery interventions of moderate and low intensity cycling, as well as seated rest after strength training. And what they found was that when completed after the strength training bout, the moderate intensity cycling cool down showed a significant decrease in DOMs due to increased blood flow to the exercise muscles. So when your last reps are in the books, don't forget to put your weights away and take a short spin on the closest bike. Your quads will thank you in 24 to 48 hours. So again, anything to just kind of bring that heart rate down. Cool down can also include walking on the treadmill, like very cool, calm, collected pace. Doesn't need to be no jogging, nothing like that. The jogging can be left for the warm up, not the cool down. Remember, you guys, cool down, you are trying to literally cool down your muscles, lower your body temperature, get that blood flow back into those muscles you just worked out. So again, delayed onset muscle soreness. You don't want too much of it because it gets in the way of a consistent exercise schedule, and too much of it can be a sign of overtraining, illness, or be a precursor to injury. So dedicate time to your cool down. The next reason why you shouldn't skip out on your cool down phase is stress relief. Exercise, we all know, is a great way to step away from the day's stresses and take care of yourself. Not only are you taking care of your body when you exercise, but you're also taking care of your mind by helping to release the feel-good hormones, dopamine and serotonin, which also known as endorphins. The cool down is an important part of this process. When exercise is slowed and the body is allowed to gradually come back to a resting balanced state, also known as homeostasis, you'll be able to take full advantage of the relaxed and euphoric effect that these newer chemicals have on your body. Taking a few moments to stretch, breathe, and reflect on your awesome workout that you just had will not only help you be on point when you enter back into your busy life, but it will also leave you feeling refreshed and possibly ward off future diseases. So literally so good for stress, okay? And then number 4, which again, I've been drilling this entire episode, why you shouldn't be skipping on your cool down is for injury prevention. And I feel like that is one of the most important factors on why you shouldn't skip out on the cool down phase nor the warm up phase. Injury prevention. When you are finished with all your sets and reps or your final interval, your muscles are very warm and pliable. So I want you guys to think of your muscles kind of like silly pudding that you've been played with for a while, okay? So making static stretching a great addition to the cool down to improve overall flexibility. When the muscles are stretched on a consistent basis, they become lengthened, and over time, they'll allow you to have more range of motion, warding off injuries that tend to plague to those who are inflexible. This is also true for those who may not be of the competitive nature. Lower back injuries are among the most common reasons for days missed at work and can be caused from tight hamstrings and or tight hip flexors, which is why it is so important to give these areas some love after your workout. 2 sets of 30-second static stretches will not only make your legs and back feel great, but you'll also be more likely to catch yourself in a slippery situation and prevent a future injury. So I know for all of those people who work at desk a lot or you're sitting a lot, many of you may have some back issues because you're literally sitting on your butt all day, and sitting on your butt for too long literally weakens them. And a weak backside is going to contribute to those uncomfortable lower back pains. So injury prevention, you guys, do not skip out on your cool down and warm up phase. And last but not least, why you shouldn't skip out is for recovery. After an intense bout of exercise, there is accumulation of lactic acid within the system. And it takes time for this byproduct of exercise to be buffered out. So 10 minutes of light exercise along with stretching is a great way to begin clearing the lactic acid from the body. It also helps to ensure that your body will be ready for its next physical test, okay? So with all this talk about a cool down, it's important to know what to include during this essential part of your workout routine. A cool down, again, I'm going to reiterate, a cool down should fill the last 5 to 10, 15 minutes of your workout and include static stretching where you're holding the specific muscle for 30 seconds of the muscle groups you just worked. So for example, if you did squats and push-ups, you'll want to stretch your glutes, quads, chest, and triceps. You should also include a light form of cardiovascular exercise if you'd like. If you just finished a spin class or a run, try walking for 5 to 10 minutes and then do your stretches. Your cool down might also include the use of a foam roller, as I just mentioned, to help alleviate those tender points along the muscles. So while it might be just as easy to skip out early, remember that a 10-minute cool down can be the difference between you and your fitness goals. So again, 5 reasons why you shouldn't skip out on your cool down. Blood pooling, delayed onset muscle soreness, stress relief, injury prevention, and recovery. And if those 5 things didn't convince you to not skip out on your cool down phase, I don't know what is, okay? So you guys, I'm going to cut into another very brief break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about foam rolling and their purpose in the warm up and cool down phase. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey guys, and welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So we're now going to dive into the role, literally, the role of foam rolling, or better yet, let me use the professional term, self-myofascial release. Now, I know that's very nerdy term there, but that's what it's called, the self-myofascial release, aka foam rolling. And this is basically a flexibility technique used to inhibit overactive muscle fibers. So basically anywhere that you have knots in your body or a lot of tightness or soreness, you're going to be performing self-myofascial release / foam rolling. So I'm going to be using those 2 terms interchangeably in this segment. So don't get confused. Self-myofascial release and foam rolling is, the same thing. So I want to talk first about some different tools or application guidelines for self-myofascial interventions. So when using a foam rolling type tool, it's important to consider the pressure exerted by the object, which is the result of diameter, density, and force applied, okay? So high density and small diameter myofascial rollers can apply a significant amount of pressure to the tissues, possibly resulting in tissue damage. Further, given that myofascial interventions require a degree of relaxation, too much pressure may cause the user to tense up. So fitness professionals should begin clients on a large, soft, textured myofascial tool until they become more accustomed to self-myofascial rolling. So pressure. There actually haven't been a lot of studies that have published to the date that has explored the specific amount of pressure needed for optimal results. The ideal amount of pressure is dependent on the user's experience, pain threshold, and perception. And the most practical method of applying pressure is the use of body weight and upper body strength if using like a handheld tool like a stick roller. Density, however, plays a key role in the overall amount of pressure applied to the tissues. Individuals who have never used a myofascial roller should begin with a soft roller. While more dense rollers have frequently been promoted as better because they work deep, like deeper layers of tissue, studies have suggested that soft to moderate rollers may achieve better overall results. Medium density myofascial rollers appear to show the best improvements in joint mobility and decrease the perception of pain, followed by mild density myofascial rollers. The findings from this research further suggested that personal preference should be taken into consideration. The most effective myofascial roller is the one the individual will use regularly. Myofascial techniques work to influence the nervous system. Thus, it is imperative that the user be able to breathe and relax while using myofascial techniques. Self-myofascial tools that are too hard may interfere with overall relaxation and reduce the effectiveness of the technique. So that's kind of like the density is kind of like on a case-by-case type of deal. So a super soft roller a super dense roller may not be beneficial for others if they are not able to properly relax. Next is diameter. A surface area is a function of pressure. A smaller diameter elicits more acute pressure and may influence deeper layers of tissue. Conversely, a larger diameter myofascial tool has a more surface area, which displaces the pressure more equally across the superficial tissues. Similar to the density of a roller, the diameter of the roller can be progressed over time as needed. Individuals just beginning to use myofascial interventions should begin with a larger diameter roll to become more accustomed to the practice before moving to smaller myofascial rollers. So let's now talk about the different tools, because there's a lot. It's not just like the typical foam roller. We got the massage gun, little tennis balls. There's many ways to foam roll. So myofascial balls, that's the first one called. Spherical tools that come in different sizes and densities. And they're often called like massage balls. So myofascial balls, massage balls, same thing. Myofascial balls will generally elicit more pressure as there is less surface contact area when compared to a myofascial roller of the same diameter and density. Therefore, a myofascial ball may be seen as a progression from the regular myofascial roller. The next tool are handheld myofascial rollers. Handheld myofascial rollers are a great alternative to regular myofascial rollers and balls. In most cases, handheld rollers are designed to be held in both hands, thus are limited to the lower extremities. Handheld rollers that are designed for one hand are suitable for the entire body. Handheld rollers are a suitable option for users that are unable to get on the ground to use a traditional roller, whether it is a medical issue or if the user is just plain, not comfortable getting on the ground. Further, handheld rollers appear to be as effective as a traditional roller on hamstrings flexibility. If the user can get on the ground, it is recommended to use a cylindrical myofascial roller over a handheld. And many gyms have the cylindrical roller. So use that if you are comfortable getting on the ground. It is recommended that fitness professionals do not use a handheld roller to apply pressure to their client. The client should always be the one in control of the pressure, as this enhances the safety of the technique and teaches the client to be self-reliant. Next tool is called vibration. In a study comparing a myofascial roller with vibration to the same roller without vibration, those in the vibration group experience greater improvements in flexibility and mobility and reduced in the perception of pain. A key takeaway from the current vibration roller research is the influence on the perception of pain. That vibration likely mitigates pain through an effect called vibratory analgesia. Put simply, vibratory analgesia occurs when the vibration stimulates certain mechanoreceptors that temporarily interfere with the sensation of pain. It may be thought of as simply turning the volume down on the pain signal. It is important to note that the effect is temporary. Another perspective to consider is that the vibration will reduce the discomfort associated with myofascial rolling. When addressing more tender areas such as the IT band, a vibrating roller may be more comfortable. Thus, the user is likely to stay on the tender area longer, leading to more positive results overall. And when I mean vibration, you guys, that's like the machine guns. Why did I say machine guns? Oh my God, like massage guns. Massage guns, not machine guns. Massage guns. So, I actually have one. The brand that I have is called Jaku, spelled Jawku. I think the most popular brand is called the Hypervolt. And that one's about like $100 more than the one I have. And I truly don't understand why, because mine works perfectly fine. I've tried both brands and they're literally the same. I think it's just because Hypervolt is like, I don't know if that was like the originator, the creator, like that's the most popular brand that most people are familiar with. Jaku, you guys, works just as fine and it's like $100 less. So I recommend that one. And I really like the one I have because the battery life is amazing. Oh my God, you guys, I charged the massage gun probably for like a couple hours, and I got that massage gun, you guys, about a month and a half ago, and I still have not charged it up again. Like, there's like 4 lights displayed on the gun, and the 4 lights represent the battery life. So 4 being that it's fully charged, 1 being that you need to charge it. And mine right now is at 2 lights left. And I have been using this massage gun religiously every single day for my cool down after my workout, including my mom. My mom uses it too. So I'm using it daily, and the battery life is just insane. And no, I am not sponsored by Jaku, but I just like really love this massage gun. So if you have the means to do it, invest in one, because I promise you guys, it is amazing. It is literally life-changing. My muscles feel so relaxed after using it. And I personally like to use it before working out and after working out in my warm-up and cool-down phase. Myofascial release or foam rolling, you can actually do before and after your workout, and it's completely fine. So dynamic stretching, I want to just kind of wrap up everything that we just talked about on today's episode. Dynamic stretching is ideal for your warm-up phase to bring your body temperature up, to dynamically and functionally move your body through a full range of motion and mimic the movements you're about to perform in the activity. Static stretching is what I recommend for your cool down because it's going to lower your blood temperature, lower your body temperature. It's going to bring blood flow back into those muscles that you just exercised. And so yeah, do that for your cool down. And myofascial rolling or foam rolling can be used for your warm up phase or cool down phase. So you guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode here at the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode and what I had to talk about. If you liked what I had to discuss, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff, because that tremendously helps the show. And just one more thing before I head on now is that, again, I just hope and pray for all of your safety during these tough times. Again, if you are going to continue to protest, please do so safely. Take care of one another. Look out for one another. And I will catch you guys here for the next episode.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.